What's up, YouTube? I have a deck guide for mono white control. This is a deck that I've been playing a lot on ladder, so I know it pretty well, and I've done pretty well with it. Probably sitting around like a 70% win rate with this deck. It's very, very strong. Definitely good in the current meta. I don't know if it's the top deck. I can't say much about that, but I can say I've had success with it, and yeah. So I wanted to kind of release a guide, go over the deck, talk about the sideboard, kind of different matchups, what I sideboard in, what I sideboard out, and yeah. So let's just kind of get to the meat and potatoes, as they say. So we're running four copies of laydown arms. This is really the reason you're in mono white. This card's great. For you that don't know, it's 1 mana, exile target creature with mana value less than or equal to the number of planes you control. So really, really efficient removal. It exiles, and then they get 3 life. You don't really care about that, but it's huge. It's great. It actually works pretty well with something like Beza, where you end up healing yourself even if you're at full health. So it's pretty nice. Carrot Cake, 4 copies. We're running Caretakers and Enduring Innocence. So, the Carrot Cakes are absolutely necessary. 2 mana artifact. When it enters, you make a 1/1 and you scry 1, and then when you sack it for 2 mana, you gain 3 life, and you make another 1/1 and you scry 1 again. So, very nice. You get to kind of fix your draws early. And it draws you cards after you have Carrot Cake or Caretaker's Talent or Enduring Innocence. One of Exercise. Been pretty impressed with this card. Hits everything, man. I don't know. Exercise has been great. Like it hits absolutely everything. It hits artifacts. So it hits that Herb Forge that this deck actually does have a hard time dealing with. It can be dead in some matchups for sure, but definitely a very, very good card. 4 Get Lost, just another good, efficient removal. Hits a lot. Doesn't hit artifacts, but hits pretty much everything else. 4 Parting Gust. This card has been pretty nice, I'd say. It's good in a lot of matches. So it's good in your aggressive matchups, and it's like against aggro decks and whatnot, because you're removing their stuff. You're exiling it. It's good in the mid-range decks. Against the mid-range decks, you're giving them a fish, but it's 2 mana exile creature. But it also, in some matchups where you have, when it's a little bit more control and you're trying to keep your Enduring Innocence on the board, you can use your Parting Gust to keep it alive, which is pretty nice. Or you can even Parting Gust your own Beza if you're in trouble against aggro. There's a number of uses for this card. It's definitely pretty good. I wouldn't say it's like a stellar card. I am sideboarding this card out a lot of the time, but it's something that I've liked so far. 4 Caretakers, 4 Enduring Innocence. I think some were doing one or the other. I think if you just slam both of these and you just commit, and then you're running a bunch of removal and just a couple things that make tokens, you're going to like it. You're going to draw a lot of cards. I haven't had a problem with decking out with this deck. It's happened maybe once. I'm not kidding. Once in 50 games. It's very, if you have Caretakers down, if you're drawing cards in full hand, you can end games with this deck pretty quickly. But you just don't want to stall out. You don't want to, run out of Caretakers. You don't want to run out of card draw. So having 8 copies of these cards is absolutely insane. We got 3 Elspeth. It's just a token generation. It's another target that, it gets hit by Get Lost and whatnot, but your opponent wants to use Get Lost on your Caretakers or your if you get a Get Lost out from Elspeth, you're pretty happy. And then the -6, it's always a pressure point where they have to remove the Elspeth before it hits to 6 loyalty, or else you're going to get all your Caretakers that they've destroyed throughout the game. And it just makes 1/1 lifelink tokens that stall out games, and that's all you need to do with this deck. You just stall until you have card advantage, you win by value. For Beza, Beza has been really, really nice in this deck. The game, for me, has been a lot about tempo, and Beza is a way to shift the tempo back into your favor. You get 4 life, you get a token, either a treasure or some fishes or both, and that gets you to draw cards, and you get to draw cards if you have less cards. I mean, it just works so well in this deck. And then, like I said, you can always Parting Gust, do whatever. And then we're running for Sunfall. This card's great. I mean, it not only does it put like a thing on board that not only does it clear your opponent's board, but it also puts something on board that they're then going to have to deal with, and it draws you a card if you have a Caretaker's down. So really, really nice. And then the mana base is pretty simple. Running 16 planes, 4 Meticulous Archive because we're splashing Jace in the sideboard, and then 4 Fountain Port. The Fountain Ports are kind of what make this deck tick. They're just something that is always going to get you value. So if you have, I would say your value cards are really Caretaker's Talent, Enduring Innocence, and this Fountain Port. You don't even need these two. If you have Fountain Port, you can kind of draw into other stuff. It's really, really nice. And yeah, so that's the deck. I want to get into the sideboard, get into the matchups. I think that's going to be, pretty useful for those watching. Yeah, so let's just talk about aggro first, and we'll kind of move down aggro, mid-range, control, and then kind of combo, and at least what I put for combo. So aggro. First aggro deck is Boros Auras. Boros Auras is very, very strong. For those that don't know, it's usually running the new 1-mana 1/1 white creature that gives +1/+1 to any creature on the board for every time you put down an enchantment. So they play that. They play a bunch of different enchantments, such as Sheltered by Ghost, which is 2 mana, exile target permanent for as long as the creature it's attached to is on the board. Really, really strong. Gives Ward 2, gives lifelink. It's incredibly strong. It's an incredibly strong deck. Very, very fast paced. Can usually just kill you by like turn 3, turn 4. You need to have answers. So I set in 3 Temporary Lockdown. This is going to be pretty much every aggro deck you're going to play against. You're going to be putting in Temporary Lockdown. I put in some Exercise. I think, I put in the other 2 Exercise. It hits the enchantments, and honestly, the creatures of that deck usually hit above 4 or greater. So I find it very, very useful. And then I put in Paragon. I think Paragon's not great, but it's better than some of the options that you have. So I just like to put that in. It, if it sticks on the board, you can bring back your Carrot Cakes, which can heal you more. It can bring back even like your Temporary Lockdowns. It's very, very nice. It's a 3/4. It's not great in the matchup, but I like to put it in. So what do I take out? Usually I'll take out my Elspeths. I don't think Elspeth's really that great in this matchup. I also take out just copies of Enduring Innocence and Caretaker's Talent. And that's about it. The rest of the deck is pretty much built to beat aggro. If you just take out a couple of copies of these, I like to leave in maybe more Enduring Innocence copies than Caretakers, because I think Enduring Innocence is slightly better in aggro matchups just because it puts a body on the board. But, it's honestly, it's not too big of a deal. If you take those out, you should be good. It's a good matchup for you. You can still lose it, but it's definitely not impossible. Let's talk about prowess, or like any red leyline deck. So this could be Gruul. This could be kind of just like the red, just straight up red, maybe splashing a little bit of black, Mardu kind of thing. I like to put in same 3 Temporary Lockdowns. I like to put in the Paragon, but I don't always put in Exercise. If it's the Gruul version, sometimes they're running the Innkeeper's Talent. So that's the 2 mana talent that puts a +1/+1 counter on one of their creatures every combat phase. I like to put it in then, because then you're hitting the Innkeeper's Talent. You're also hitting the red ley line, and you're gonna hit like the big creatures that happen with that deck. So sometimes they'll just have one big mouse that's going to blow up in your face, and you just wait till it gets over 4 power, and then you hit it with an exercise. So I like putting exercise in sometimes, but again, you're going to take out Elspeth, and then you're going to take out some talents and innocence, and that's about it. Nothing too exciting. Next deck we got is Azorius Enchantments. The Azorius Enchantments deck is interesting. I sometimes see it a lot, and sometimes I never see it. It's definitely a good deck. Maybe not top tier, but it's definitely very good. And then the same thing, I just put in Temporary Lockdown. As you know, you're going to put this in every Aggro matchup, like I said. I put in Exercise because there are enchantments, so Exercise is going to hit that. And you know, exiling is sometimes relevant when they play Enduring Innocence. And yeah, that's about it. You need board wipes for this deck. They have a lot of protection. Again, I just take out the Elspeths. You can take out, you know, a couple Enduring Innocence caretakers. Nothing too unique, but that's pretty much like the standard for every aggro deck is kind of just take out the Elspeth, go down some caretakers talents, go down some Innocence. You should be good. All right, let's move on to mid-range. There's really 2 decks here. There's Golgari and Mono Black. So for Golgari, there's some interesting things you can put in. So it's a good matchup for you, but here's the problem. They have Vraska, right? And they can one-shot you. Some of the lists are running Vraska, and if they are, they can one-shot you, right? And you have to be wary of that. And so you always have to have an answer to Innkeeper's Talent. So I like to, in those matchups, just side in the Exercise, be safe, because you're going to lose to Vraska no matter what. And then I actually like to put in a couple copies of Stonebrain. It is a little bit weird in that deck in that they do have a ton of threats, but if you can just remove their Vraskas or their Innkeeper's Talent before they play one, it's just one less thing that you're going to have to deal with. It's just like you don't have to worry about getting OTK'd, right? So just like then you can just win by value, and you're already going to win by value. So I do like to put the Stonebrain in because it's like it's a winning matchup if you can just not lose to Vraska. So just play the Stonebrains, hit the Vraskas, call it a day. As far as what I take out, I usually just take out some Elspeths. I think you could also, you know, I would say maybe don't put in 3 copies of Exercise. Put in like a copy, take out the Elspeths. Everything else is pretty necessary. You don't want to take out any Parting Gusts. You don't want to take out Get Lost. You don't want to take out Lay Down Arms. You know, everything else is pretty key. You know, you could take out some Elspeths and call it a day. Put in, you know, an Exercise and 2 Stonebrain, and you're like good to go. Next one we got is Mono Black. I personally don't side in anything against Mono Black. You could maybe side in Exercise because they play like the enchantment that draws them a card. It makes it a 6/6 black demon. You know, I think Exercise is fine, but I honestly just don't side in anything against Mono Black. I think it's an extremely winning matchup for you, and you should be fine. But, you know, Exercise if you want. It hits Shieldred. It's not bad. You can't go wrong. Again, I'd probably just take out Elspeth, but, you know, all is, you know, there's it's not too big of a deal. Like they don't, the problem with the Mono Black is they don't have a great way to destroy enchantments. So all your enchantments are going to stick, and you're just going to outvalue them very, very quickly. As soon as you draw 1 Caretakers, 1 Enduring Innocence, you're like good to go. And then you just remove everything they have on the board. And then let's move on to the control list. So there's a number of control decks here. I'm going to kind of put them all into the same boat. There's not really too much of a difference in what you're going to sideboard out. And if there is, I'll try and talk about it. So we got like Bant Control, Naya Control, which are like both Overlord kind of control lists, Domain, and then we have like the Mirror. So, you know, if you're playing against another mono white control list, splashing blue, or even honestly like a Boros version of this deck, or I've seen one splashing for Kaya, the Planeswalker, the 7-mana Planeswalker. So in all of these, I put in Exercise. I put in all my copies of Exercise. I put in all my Stonebrain, and I put in all my Jace and all my Sarah Paragon. So why do we put all of these in? So Exercise hits all the enchantments. So even against like Domain, it's going to hit their ley lines, which you're going to be able to, you know, get your Caretakers back or your Elspeth back or whatever. The Stonebrain is going to hit in, it depends on the matchup, but like, so let's talk about like Ban Control and Naya Control. They're both probably, you know, like Ban Control is absolutely going to be running Doppelgang. I just take out Doppelgang. That's like the one thing you can lose to, the one thing you can get one shot by. Same with Naya Control. Just take out the Doppelgang and you're you know, a lot better. You're a lot more confident to win. Or they're running Jace, in which case you're taking out the Jace, and you just take out the Jace, remove everything on board, you're good to go. Like a lot of the times you're just running the Stonebrains as almost other copies of Jace so that they can't Jace you. And that's really what it comes down to. Same with Domain. I'm taking out Jace. You're going to be able to clear everything on board 90% of the time. You just really can't get milled out. And so Stonebrain is there for that. Running the Jace, obviously, your game plan is just to mill them out. You're stalling. You're not doing anything else. Just mill. Just mill. All right? Don't worry about, I mean, put pressure on them so that they have to respond and react inefficiently for sure. But at the end of the day, like, your main game plan is I'm gonna mill you out with Jace, and then the side game plan is I'm gonna put some pressure on you so that you can't, you know, so that I can get to my Jace faster and you can't remove my Caretakers. And then Paragon is nice because it's almost like it's just another threat, really. Like they have to remove Paragon. She'll bring back all the Caretakers. She'll bring back kind of whatever you need. It's just another threat, and it's pretty good. As far as what you sideboard out against these decks, I take out Beza. Beza's just, you know, it's kind of a tempo play. It's not really great. She's fine. You know, like, I'm not unhappy to have Beza in my deck, but there's better things you can put in. And then I just take out like some Parting Gust. I think Parting Gust just doesn't hit enough. It hits their creatures, but you have plenty of creature removal. Yeah, and that's about it. Like, just Beza, Parting Gust, and you should be good. You should have enough room. And everything else is good. You want to keep them in the Sunfall. Oh, I took out, sorry. I do take out Laydown Arms. I take out Laydown Arms because they're ramping usually, and sometimes your Laydown Arms just doesn't have enough. You don't have enough planes to kill their Atraxa or their 7-drop Mistmores or whatever it is. So I take out all the copies of Laydown Arms, and then I take out as many Parting Gusts it takes to fill out the deck. So I think with the other 2 Exercise, 2 Stonebrain, 2 Jace, so that's 6 cards, and then the 2 Paragon, that's 8 cards. You can just take out both, and you're good to go. Yeah, and you're adding more. So with the Exercise, you are kind of adding more removal to it, and you can use that Exercise to remove things on the board, and it kind of takes up the Parting Gust slot a little bit. So yeah, just take out a couple of those, and you should be good. All right, last deck I'm going to talk about is a combo deck. There's not really too much combo in the meta, but I put this in the category of combo because it kind of is a combo deck, and that is Oculus Djinn. So very, very strong deck. You do need to have a sideboard option for it, and as you can probably see, you can see it sitting in there. It's the 4 Rest in Peace. Yeah, you need to have these just for that deck. The deck is extremely powerful. It's seen, kind of upticks in popularity, and then as Rest in Peace gets more popular, it kind of slows down. But you need to have it because when you play against it, Rest in Peace does do well against their deck. They can beat it, but it's very, very hard for them to. So get the Rest in Peace down if you can. And then I like to put in Stonebrains. Stonebrains are kind of nice against that deck because they really only run 2 threats, right? They run Oculus and Djinn. If you can remove their Oculus or their Djinn, usually I just pick Oculus first. If you can remove their Oculus, they're going to have a hard time, winning the game. I don't know. Like they really, some are running the Monastery Swift Spears, and then so like if you have Rest in Peace and you want to remove their like Monastery Swift Spear or their Get Lost or whatever, it's not completely dead after you play it. It's just nice to have. Yeah, I like the Stonebrain in there. They're just running so few threats. It's very nice. And then I put in Exercise. Couple reasons. One, it hits most of their targets, but more importantly, it exiles. So I'll probably go down like, the Elspeths and even like Beza's, because Beza doesn't really do enough, and I'll just put in all the, as much removal as I can. Once you've exiled it, they can't bring it back. It's important. I don't know if I would take out Get Lost, because I do think some, instant speed removal is nice, but yeah, I think if you can exercise it, exile it, it hits everything. Like it hits the Oculus and it hits Jin. I mean, what else do you need, right? And it gets rid of it. So I'm happy to have it. It also, if they will sideboard this in against you, it hits Temporary Lockdown, which they might sideboard in against you because it hits Rest in Peace. So, something to be wary of. And that's it. That's pretty much every deck that I could think of that I play on ladder currently. I hope this helped. I hope this was an enlightening experience, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/wildman101. I stream there pretty much every day. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.